Lewis Hart for The Ring magazine. Delighted today who's joined with Frank Smith. Just concluded the official weigh-ins ahead of tomorrow night. Yeah, quite a big story. Chris Eubank Jr. misses weight. I know it's not by a lot, but the official line is that he's missed weight. Yeah, Frank, I guess sort of first things first, has the feelings ahead of tomorrow night, and obviously reaction to Eubank Jr. missing the weight.
Yeah, look, as always with fights of this magnitude, there's always going to be drama. There's always going to be moments in the build-up where you have these shock events, and the big talking point has obviously been the weight. A weight that Chris has made for I think the past 3 or 4 years, or his last 4 fights at 160, his natural weight. But he's big, obviously. Conor 156.4, all over the undercard on weight as well, and yeah, Chris 160.05, so over the contracted weight limit.
Yeah, so is it a concern, would you say? Because I know it's missing the weight, but it's trying to make that as well. Which you see, he's probably tried to squeeze everything he could, and he's just still a little bit over. Is it still a bit of a concern, would you say, in missing weight? And I guess maybe is sort of the health to make the weight, I guess. Yeah,
look, I mean, how often do we see fighters miss weight? Just being as in it happens a lot.
It happens, yeah.
It does happen in the sport a lot. By a lot more as well. Fighters have missed weight by 2, 3, 4, 5 pounds. I think. Again, I'm not in Chris's camp, but it's a tougher weight. He's always pushed himself with it, but it's his natural weight. He's not a 168 fighter, So, yeah, look, it's what he does, and I'm sure it will be a talking point that will carry on through to the fight. But at the same time, that's why the weight, it's very different from the first fight. The first fight, when we made it, was supposed to be at 157. This is a whole different story. Yeah. This is at his natural weight of 160 with Conor coming up. Conor obviously weighed 156.4. So, yeah, look, it's going to be a lot of people talking about it.
Is there any worries for tomorrow morning when he's making the Saturday weigh-in for Chris?
I don't believe so, honestly. Yeah. I don't think so. I think there's never really been talk that he's a big guy, puts on a lot of weight. But again, I can't talk for that. I'm not his team. I don't. You'd have to talk to someone from his team about that.
Yeah, for Conor as well, coming at 156, which is quite a bit underweight. Do you expect him to put much on tomorrow? We'll see, I guess, tomorrow. But do you expect him to put much on?
Probably a little bit, but not much. I can imagine. Obviously, he's going to focus on his speed, and he keeps his speed at a lighter weight. So that's going to be the focus for him, obviously. Look, I'm not an expert. I'm not, as I've said a million times, I'm not a weight expert. I'm not in any of these guys' camps. The fighters we represent, it's not my speciality. So it's going to be interesting. I can't wait for the fight. Yeah.
Do have to ask about yesterday. A bit of a curveball. Hearn left the presser. Put yourself on board. I guess. How was that as a dynamic, I guess, and Eubank weren't really letting you speak, but you got your few words in.
Yeah, look, Eddie had said it to me, but I actually didn't expect to do it because I know Eddie likes the camera.
Yeah.
And I didn't think Eubank would do it yesterday. But look, it is what it is. It's all about. I'd never say anything bad about Chris, because of I'm not that type of person. Yeah. He said things about me, but that's not who I am as an individual. Yeah. And the way I carry myself. I was going to go up there and say, what a moment, 30 years in the making, because really I was going to say you have to respect these two guys because they get anyone who comes from a big name, right, never really gets the credit. But they've built themselves into this position to be in this fight. And I really feel for both of them, even Chris at his age, this is the breakthrough moment for themselves of a fight that people go, this is about them. And don't get me wrong, it's about their fathers from 30 years ago. But they deserve the credit for getting to that position because it's very easy when you come from a successful, both sides, when you come from nice lifestyles, etc., to not go down the route that they've gone down and the pressures that they've gone throughout their career. So really, that's all I was going to say. I'd never say anything bad. I'm not going to pick a winner. The best man will win. Doesn't matter what I think. It's irrelevant what I think. Like I said, super irrelevant what I think. But what a moment. And what a moment for the first Ring magazine fight show as well. It's going to be a spectacle in there Saturday night. 67,000 odd people in there. I'm sure huge pay-per-view numbers around the world as well. And everyone's saying different things, aren't they? And that's when you've got a great fight, when experts from all around the field that we work in have got different opinions. And everyone's saying him late, him early. No, him late, him early, and that's what we want. That's what boxing's all about. It's about narrative, but it's about great fights. And one thing I can tell you is this fight tomorrow night will be a tremendous fight, because both of these guys don't have quit. You know, they're tough boys, and they're going to go in there and they're going to give it all, and they're going to leave it there. And I'm just excited for a great fight. Hope both guys healthy, fit, safe, and that's the key.
Chris alluded to it a bit at the press conference yesterday, and spoke about sort of the fraction with senior and junior, and sort of not touching on that, but him, you know, his stance on the fight and him not being there. And I understand, you know, sort of your personal sort of relationship there. As it stands, like he's not going to be there, and how is it disappointing? Is it sad to see, or you know?
Yeah, look, I've said quite a few times, I don't really like everything, you know, from a family perspective. In any family, playing out in the media, I don't think it's the way things should be done. So I don't really try to comment too much on it. Obviously, if you're looking at it from a broader view and saying, look at what their fathers did, both Conor and Nigel and Chris did all those years back, and you know, they were probably two of the most famous sporting men in the country back in the 1990s. You think about the numbers that watched that first fight, you know, 18 million odd people on ITV. And as I say, this fight is about the sons really coming out of that and doing this for themselves, but at the same time, without their fathers, they wouldn't be there today. So yeah, of course it would be great to have them both there. Let's see.
All bodes for an exciting night tomorrow night. Frank, always a pleasure to speak to you. Appreciate taking the time as always, and appreciate all the help today with a lot of confusion, a lot going on. So I do appreciate you
no worries, mate.
helping me out. Appreciate it. I'm sure we'll be catching up soon. Top
Thanks
man.
very much,
Thank you, mate. Cheers.